We should always look for a silver lining in the face of adversity, as adversity and prosperity are the two faces of the same coin, and so both need to coexist. With this note, let me welcome you children. The very first lesson of Class 10 NCERT book First Flight, titled A Letter to God by G.L. Fuentes. It is always wise to have some information about the background and writing style of the author, as these things affect his product, which consequently help us to have a better understanding of the content. Next, we have a very short introduction to the story, A Letter to God. I assume, children, that you all have read the story, and so now we know that the protagonist of the story is a farmer named Lencho. In the story, the author depicts unwavering faith of Lencho in God. In fact, it begins with Lencho expecting for a rain shower to nourish his field of corn. He was confident that his harvest was going to yield him huge profits. To his utmost excitement, rainfall did happen, but sooner it turned into a hailstorm, destroying his entire crop field. The damage posed a threat to the family's survival, as their entire livelihood was dependent on the year's produce. Although disheartened, Lencho had firm belief in the Almighty. He, despite having worked day and night at the field, knew how to write, and so decided to write a letter to God, explaining his situation and asking for help. He went to town to post his letter, addressed as to God. The letter, on being noticed by the postmaster, at first amused him, but then motivated him to do something for the farmer so as to keep his immense belief intact. He contributed from his salary and collected money from his colleagues and friends who willingly contributed for an act of charity. To his dismay, he could only collect 70 pesos, which he wrapped in an envelope to make it seem like a reply from the deity. On having found the letter, Lencho was not at all shocked, but instead he got angry on finding that the amount was less than what he had expected. He again wrote a letter to God, conveying his disappointment and distrust in the employees of the post office, who he thought had stolen the remaining amount. Here is a list of new words with their meanings. It will give you a better understanding of the text. What you need to do is, children, try to understand the meaning and try the use of these words in sentences of your own. It is a list of around 15 to 16 words with their meaning. Once you understand the usage of all these words, it will surely enrich your vocabulary. Unless the story has conflict, it does not interest its readers. In this particular story, we come across two kinds of conflicts. Number one, human versus nature, and number two, human versus youth. In human versus nature, there is a clash between human wishes, actions, and natural calamity. It is very, very clear in the story that human wishes, actions are reflected by Lencho, and natural calamity comes as a hailstorm that destroys Lencho's field. And number two, in human versus human. There is a clash between human emotions like distrust, dishonesty, jealousy, and trust, honesty, help, etc. These human emotions are reflected through ledger on one hand and the people at the post office on the other. Although it is a very short story, but it has got a large amount of literary value due to Fuentes' use of description, metaphor, simile, irony, and humor. Fuentes uses description that fits his setting of rural Mexico. He shows his mastery of description in the first words of the story. And children, there are a lot of descriptions in the story which you need to spot out. And consequently, you will find use of figurative language like metaphor, simile, irony, and humor. Here I can give you one example of metaphor and simile being used together, which is a very rare case in literature. The example is, Lancho was the ox of a man working like an animal in field. Spot off this sentence in the text, underline it, and try to find out why I am saying that in this particular sentence, both metaphor and simile are present. I repeat, this is the best example of both metaphor and simile be found in one line, which is a rarity in literature. And I want you all to cite examples from the text of each one of this literary device. Now coming to the theme of the story, A Letter to God, it is very, very obvious that blind faith is one of the themes of the story, because the story reflects the blind faith of the farmer Lancho. The crops are destroyed by the storm, but Lancho takes it as a divine action. He writes a letter to God, which is the height of blind faith, and finding the money, he believes that it has been given by God himself. Even when he finds 70 pesos instead of 100, he is not pleased, as he thinks that God must have given 100 pesos, but the postman or the other men at the post office might have stolen the rest of the money. On the other hand, the story also reflects the mentality of the poor people of villages who are not so educated, and also the sympathetic nature of people like the postman. The story also conveys that the farmer is an uneducated person who is full of blind faith. He is unaware of the reality, hence, rather than thanking the employees of the post office, he calls them greedy and finally bunch of crooks. And this is the irony in the story. There is another angle. The postmaster, who was moved by the innocence of the farmer, never expected such a response from the farmer. Now coming to the message that the story conveys. Firstly, Lancho's firm faith in God. Secondly, the story shows utter innocence of Lancho. Thirdly, it gives a pragmatic message that sometimes even our generosity is not recognized. We may not be valued for our good action. On the contrary, we might be addressed as a bunch of crooks. And after this, children, you have to analyze how apt the title of the story is. There is are a few thoughts regarding the theme and message. I always keep on repeating that you must put your thoughts into the lesson and then try to form your own opinion, and please add up to the content of the entire matter. Add up whatever you think is relevant to each of the subtopics and feel free to discuss in the next class. With this, we have come to an end of a very interesting discussion of the underlying aspects of the story, A Letter to God. Please get ready with your inputs so that we can discuss them further in the next video. Remaining portion that will include question answers and grammar will be dealt in the next video. Till then, think over, form opinions and jot them down. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Priyanka Kaushik Goswami. See you in my next video where we will conclude the lesson. Till then, stay home, stay safe. Thank you.